Hello, welcome to my little spot on YouTube. I'm Ruth. Thank you for joining me. Today's video is a DIY door makeover. I live in a council house, which means that I rent quite cheaply off of the local authority. It's a type of social housing if you don't have council houses in America. I've lived in this house for about 17 years. In council houses, the council is responsible for replacing things like doors, windows, that kind of thing, but the tenant is allowed to do decorating and small works to the decor of the house, and the lease is a long term, so hence I've been here for 17 years. I'm going to show you our door now. Okay, so you're in portrait mode on my camera because I can't fit a whole door in without it being on portrait mode. You may have spotted next to my door some pipes that really look absolutely disgusting. They're not dirty, the paint's just degraded over the years, and you might be able to see there's one that is whiter than the other one. It's where I've just tried painting, but the paint finish is bad because underneath it's so bad, and I'm going to have to strip this paint stripper because I'm wary that there could be lead paint. If you're interested in watching that video about how I turn my copper pipes from grotty to glorious, subscribe and you will get a notification. Another thing with this house is you can see the door is set back quite far. This is because there's plasterboard on the external walls. It was put on as some kind of insulation. However, you can also see that there's a line here where this bit's wood and this bit's plasterboard. I don't like that, which is why I have bought some paneling strip wood to put around the edge of the door to make it look more finished. You can see this bumpy line here that it just doesn't look so nice. That hopefully will look more finished, and it will be, I'll paint the strip wood the same colour as the door and the inset bit here, and yeah, hopefully that'll fix that problem. It goes all the way around, and it's particularly bad up here. Some of the finishings for council houses aren't the best, and I'd like to try and rectify that. The door here, you can see that there's paint. People have painted without using masking tape, and I need to get that off. I've tried with obviously with a Stanley blade, but I'm gonna have to scrub it off, and then I can tape it to paint afresh, because the reason why it won't come off with a Stanley blade is because this is textured. This is the door handle, which is functional but pretty ugly. Very much the same with the hook, which I hopefully can get off because that has been painted over so many times. Me included, I've done that as well, just where, you know, sometimes you have to whack a bit of paint over something to make it look presentable. That is a door. It works like a door. I'm going to make it look nicer. And now you've seen the door, let me show you the bits and pieces that we're going to use to give that door a lovely makeover so that it no longer looks like a council house door. The total of this makeover is coming in at about £50, which I don't think is too bad. So the paint that I've used is Johnston's Wood and Metal Quick Drying Satin in Brilliant White. I like quick drying because it dries quickly, and I don't like gloss, so I use satin. Basically, that's it. Obviously, you wouldn't need to use a whole tin, probably barely use any. So that whole £10 can go to another project as well. Next, I've got, and I probably should have cut these things before showing you, but I've got this black rail, which is 2.5 centimetres, which is around about 1 inch in diameter. I wanted thicker rather than thinner rail, which proved to be annoying actually in the end because of my hooks, and I still might need to make adaptations to my hooks. But anyway, this was £4.98. I bought it in Toolstation. Really annoyingly, they didn't have it in stock, so I had to get it, you know, like you have to order it and it comes the next day, and I hate that because I like to just drive down and grab it. Then I have really carefully lifting this over the camera and try not to knock anything off in my kitchen. I have a piece of strip wood, which I don't know if you can see, you probably can like that. A piece of strip wood which has some moulding in it, so it's like a bit of panelling, so you can create fake panelling. This is going on the edge of the door to make it look more finished, and I got 2 pieces of that, but I may only need 1, but they were £6.62 each, so I think that's £11.24 for 2. And then I have got the door handle, which is very important because the door handle that is currently on, as you would have seen, is a horrible low 1970s, 1980s metal aluminium one, and I don't like it. So I think just changing the door handle would make a massive difference without all the other stuff. So this was from Toolstation again, and it was £15.98, and it is called Monza. Next we have the rail holders. There's 2 of those. They were 99p each, and yep, they hold up the rails, although I may need to find some adaptation to do with holding up the rail. Next, they were like 99p each, so that's £1.98 for those. Then I've got a hook to replace the metal hook that's been painted over numerous times, because we hang our jute bag on the hook on that door, which has our carrier bags for shopping in. And this one was £2.48. Again, this one was from Toolstation. Looks a little bit like an elephant, but much, much more elevated than the current sort of aluminium-y hook that's been painted over and over again. To dress the window area, we've got the curtain, which was from Shein. It's just a very natural looking fabric, and it was £3.30. Last, I think, but not least, is this little thing that I also got from Shein, which was 95 pence, and it's like I think there must be wire in the middle, and you can close it and pull it tight so that the curtain can go through it, so that it doesn't look all hangy on the door. So the very first job for me is to measure for cutting the wood and the rail. I like to live by the rule in these circumstances of measure twice, cut once. I don't want to spend more time or more money than is necessary. Bit of a wind going on there. The other thing is, of course, make sure you write down your measurements. Just getting ready to cut the rail and then the wood to the correct size. I've popped a sticker on that rail, you can see, and there's 2 reasons for this. Because A, I want to put a pencil mark at the correct measurement, and I wouldn't be able to see it very well on the black. B, I want to prevent any scratches on the rail because it's painted and underneath is a silvery colour. I don't want any ugly scratches. I actually used a really blunt blade. I didn't change it, which was stupid of me, but it got through the metal anyway and didn't do a bad job. Cutting the wood is a bit of a scary one because it has to be done on an angle so that at the top of the door the 2 pieces of wood meet at 45 degrees. This gives it like more of a professional finish. I do that by using a mitre guide, so you saw through a gap that creates the angle, and it's always really scary. I always have to check my angle so many times, and you can see this time the 2 angles meet. Yay! It's time now to put the strip wood onto the wall. I forgot to record myself using the glue. Basically, you use it in a mastic gun, you squeeze it out in a wiggly line onto the back of the wood. Then you transfer the wood and just push it onto the wall. It pretty much grips straight away. You've just got to make sure you line it up. You can adjust it slightly afterwards, but if you put too much glue on, obviously that will squeeze out of the sides, which you can wipe off with a wet cloth, but if you're doing it, just be sparing with the glue. tidy up those edges. I'm using decorator's caulk, which is really good for use with wood, so I'm going around and just filling in those little gaps between the wall and the strip wood, just so that it looks tidy and nice. The caulk, once you've filled, needs smoothing out with your finger. Well, I use my finger. I don't know if that's right or not, but I use my finger, smooth it out, and then go around with a damp cloth around the edges to make sure that it's not sticking on the other surfaces. You might have noticed that I'm wearing a completely different outfit. This is because it takes a bit of time for me to get anything done around my house, because I do it sort of in the middle of everything else. Anyway, just a quick tip, you can paint over decorator's caulk, but you can't sand decorator's caulk. If you try to sand decorator's caulk, it just goes all bobbly because it's got some kind of like stretch in it. It's a bit like rubbery. So yep, you can paint over the top, but you can't sand it. While the caulk is drying, it gives me a bit of time to try and get the paint off of the glass. This made my fingers hurt, took a long time. I used a scourer, like a metal scourer, and a Stanley blade, and eventually, yes, it did all come off. Thank goodness. To unscrewing the fixings on the door. So the hook, which came off really easily, even though I thought it would be tricky because of the paint coverage on there. And then I moved on to the handle, which came off fine on this side of the door, but on the other side of the door it was a bit trickier, and I had to wrench off one of the screws because they burred. And the door handle fits, which is absolutely brilliant. That's a bonus. I moved on to painting. The strip wood, the bare strip wood, needed a couple of coats, obviously, because it had not been painted before. And I also gave the door another full top coat because it had already had a top coat earlier in the year where I just did a freshen up. Obviously, I washed the door first, give it a light sanding, and then paint. It goes without saying that I masked off the window before painting the door because I did not want any of that paint to go back in those cracks. I don't want to be cleaning and scrubbing that window ever again. Who else absolutely loves the satisfaction of pulling off masking tape? It's not quite so fun on the door. You can't quite see the lovely clean edge that you get when it's on a wall, but I still love it. Once the paint was dry, it was time to do the exciting bits. So here I am screwing in the door handle. These are the bits that really make a difference to the whole project. Obviously painting a door brightens it up, but putting on the fixtures and fittings, they're the finishing touches, aren't they? They are what makes the difference. Next up, the hook. Obviously this needs measuring to try and get it pretty much central on the door. So that's what I'm doing, measuring twice, fixing once. I think the hook looks great. As yet, we haven't actually used the hook to hang our bags on because they bring the whole look of the door down, basically. The very last job was to put the rail up so that we could hang the curtains, and then the door would be finished. It went very well, took a bit of measuring, but not too much. So that's my door. What do you think? I love it. So a few changes made along the way was I used these IKEA rail hooks that I had already at home and an old, thinner old curtain rail, and they work a lot better than these ones. I think you can see this one is longer than this one. When you would open the door with this one on, the door wouldn't open so wide. So that's the only change, and actually that would have saved me some money. So it always pays to look in your shed first. Thank you very much for joining me for my door makeover. My next makeover will be on these pipes because the whole way through making this video I've been really embarrassed about the way they look. So let's try and turn these back into copper pipes that look a lot more aesthetically pleasing than they currently do. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!